back in 2025. I want minute intros brought back.
And closure.
Wrap this shit up.
It's all right. Let's just get to the closure part.
It's over.
Let's just get to it.
Looks like it's made it through another one. Congratulations, everybody. I feel like, you'll be hearing this sometime, before that ball drops. That's how it's supposed to, how you're supposed to feel. You made it. Woo! Woo! Yeah!
Till you wake up and you gotta pay rent.
New year, new me. New everything. Intentional. Positivity. It'll be different. To make very drastic, extreme changes and completely sidestep like the little incremental things that actually create those big changes.
You can just do a series of small things. Just the consistency. I feel like that should be more of a focus. Like, new year, new me. Okay, yes, you're not going to be the exact same person that you were this past year. Clearly. Whatever you've been through this last year has changed you in some capacity. So you're automatically not going to be the same person. So you don't have to do anything drastic. Just stay fucking consistent. What's the smallest thing that I can focus on right now? And do that for a month or two. And then the next smallest thing you can focus on. And do that for a month or two in conjunction to the other thing that is not. Just keep this shit steady. Why do people go to I have to make some drastic, extreme change in order to make this year way better than this previous year that's coming to an end?
I think there's a bit of ignorance to how change works. And then, per the usual, my biggest thing of the motivation for why you're doing the thing. It's I want, I can get certain things make you promote you want to do this big drastic thing. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, has been from, various maybe desperate thoughts or feelings or whatever. I want to show this person, I want to show this motherfucker. So you change. Or you're just in a fucked up spot. And, sometimes motherfuckers, you're more or less overwhelmed by the fucked upness of your spot, and you would like this shit to change drastically by tomorrow, without taking into account that it was a lot of things incrementally that created this fucked up spot. So you have to piece that shit, piece by piece. I don't know, the messy room analogy. You would like to snap your fingers and this shit looks clean, but in general, you have to clean up this spot, then clean the bed, then clean your dressers, and so on and so forth.
But you start one room at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we stick with the analogy of cleaning, people that stereotypically, today being Sunday, I'm deep cleaning because that's what I do on Sunday. Every Sunday we deep clean. So you spend the entire day deep cleaning when you could have just done one room today, one room yesterday, maybe another room the day before. If I just do a little bit for each room every day, I wouldn't have to spend the entire day deep cleaning this bitch. Aside from scrubbing the floorboards with a toothbrush, because apparently that's what some of y'all do in y'all house. You will go to that extent to make sure your house is clean. Not to say that that's a terrible thing, which y'all do that before you clean your insides or your personality. I'll scrub the floorboards with the toothbrush, but I won't fucking
scrub your ass.
Right. not figuratively and literally, but I won't even fucking cleanse my personality. But I have to do something drastic. I have to do something drastic and very time consuming in order for me to feel like I have achieved X, Y, and Z, when you can just do a little bit every day. And essentially what you're sharing is this drastic decision that I am making to make this large change has to come from some aspect of trauma or shame. I feel ashamed of X, Y, and Z, or I feel like a failure, or I feel this, that, and the other. So I have to swing the pendulum from one extreme to the next in order to feel like this is going to be worth it.
I don't think it has to, but I think that's where a lot of people are at, just simply with ignorance or lack of understanding or lack of knowledge, and not and everybody and their mama has a different version of saying this, but like, you know, kind of the microwave culture, or you look at social media, or you blah, 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 which is like, you know, you see somebody today, or you see somebody they haven't posted in 3 weeks, and like they post 3 weeks and then it's like this amazing thing, but you might not pay attention that this thing that they're posting might have taken them 3 weeks or fucking 3 months or 3 years to build, but we don't see that. So the perception is always like, oh, this shit got to be changed and flipped right now, here today, immediately. And so like, you know, the idea of like I do that a lot, like just with like clients and parents and families, whatever, like teaching like the importance of a small win and like how those build up into things, because everybody's always focused like over here. So it's like, you know, perception is a thing. So if I'm always focused on this dirty ass corner while that's even the thing, like, you know, using that cleaning analogy, while a motherfucker cleaning, you've moved from this side of the house to this side. It's dirty as shit over here, and you're hyper focused on dirty as shit. It's like if you just kind of look that way, like if we just did a full, just left to right, not necessarily promoting that look in the past thing before somebody tries to make my analogy for me.
Right.
Just look at the whole scope. It's like, you know, we've made a good jump. There is still shit to go. I don't want you motherfuckers to do what y'all do on the internet, is go completely the other side. It's great. It's not great, but we've made a ton of progress. And so building off that progress, like you remember when you were way over at that end of the wall and like it looked like you couldn't do that? We're halfway across now. So like we're pretty good. Then when you get to the end of that, I feel like you start doing what you said. Like, now that I've cleaned this motherfucker, now the maintenance is, which if I'm making this like a weird therapy analogy, I would feel like that's like the crisis extreme therapy where you start at the other end. We clean all this shit up, where we do the deep work. What you keep paying for after you do the deep work is to make sure, like, hey, I see you got up today. Like, if you had a motherfucker just in your house every day, like, hey, did you put that back over there? So you remember how it piles up. Okay, we got like 2 or 3 things on the floor now. That's not bad. But if you get to 4 and 5 things, we got to start picking some shit up so it don't get piled up in here. And that's what you continuously go and whatever for. I think that makes sense. You got what the fuck I'm saying.
Of course it did. If they didn't, you know, you're watching on a platform where you can rewind it and listen to it a couple times and then try to make sense of it. And then you can ask us questions about it later for engagement purposes. 'Cause, you know, this being the last episode of the year. Next year, we want you to engage a whole lot more. So,
but now I'm figuring next year, you know, bring back the questions. But I ain't gonna lie, man. Like I might, if I wasn't like I'll say it like this. I had multiple thoughts over the past like week or two because, you know, niggas been off. It's been holidays. We got families and love lives and loved ones and such.
We have love lives?
I kind of overstepped that. We got loved ones that we love that are in our lives.
Oh.
Yeah.
We don't have
I'm a
lives.
fucking monk. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
But speaking of love, that's right, another thing. Speaking of quote unquote love lives and spaces, I had multiple thoughts about how to make this just a fucking the polycast, because the way it's been, I've had the best time. I've had some of the funnest time just watching the internet go awry. That you told people that solo poly exists, and boy, they are not taking it well, and I'm having a fucking. And you know what really threw me? Like, not to be, you know, not to maybe make it, you know, super gendery. I thought that it was going to be just scores of women going like, fuck him. It's a few that are like, that's bullshit. That is like on brand. It's a few that are like clearly in the space. But I saw mad niggas mad about. It was 2 types of niggas. It's niggas who are clearly going to take this information and use it for devious, dastardly, dirty deeds. And then there are those who are just like, this is bullshit. And it's like, God damn, Carl, if you and your wife just want to, you know, I'm not in the poly space. It didn't bother me that them niggas was angry. I've been having so much fun. I've been having a ball.
That's why I stay off there, just because I gave my contribution and I just kind of left it at that. I saw some of that happening, but oddly enough, like when I was doing my research years ago to try to like really get better at understanding the poly spaces, it was women platforms that were letting me know, yeah, this is solo poly. This is how I do it. This is what it is. Like I learned this from most of the learning that I've gotten via social media and books and things of that nature have been from queer women. So the fact that there's lots of men that are upset thinking that being poly in general or being solo poly is ruining the dating sphere and ruining women is hilarious. Not to say that like women are the only people practicing poly. Clearly that's not the case. But a lot of the educational stuff that I've ingested over the years has come from women. So which women am I polluting if it's women that are out there driving the information?
I mean, I feel like clearly like the brand of individual that might, because I remember there was one that stuck out. It was like, you guys, what you guys doing? You guys are ruining the regular women for the regular guys like us. And
yeah, that guy.
oh, yeah.
I appreciate the compliment. Thank you for acknowledging that we are not regular niggas, that we are not the normal, that we're not average like you. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for the compliment wholeheartedly.
I feel like some of that obviously stems from like, you know, you have your traditional values. A lot of the traditional values are stemmed in like, you know, spaces of like control. Like if everybody get the ability to go fuck who they want, then shit. You know, you got to kind of play into. And I'm clearly like I'm not a avid rampant poly nigga or whatever like that. But like I can see the mindset of niggas who are like, if this becomes like normal, then I'm really, really competing with niggas. Like I gotta kind of use a bit of, you know, moral high ground and shit. Maybe on like the women that I'm dealing with. It's like, you know, like it's backdoor kind of some of the backdoor red pill. Like nobody wants somebody with fucking any bodies. She can never have ever had sex before. Otherwise, what the fuck am I being with her for? And that whole chestnut of how that is reinforcing shit that's gonna make you fucking depressed and shit later on. So whole fucking snowball effect of the shit that niggas is complaining about is also the same thing that's getting them in the trick bag, as my grandfather used to say, of I'm fucking in this shit and I hate it here. I can't find any connection. Well, man, you kind of are cutting off the. Now I'm not telling you, you know, you got to go have somebody be a. I don't know that boy situation. I had a Travis Hunter joke, but I'm not saying you got to go do that. All I'm saying is like. There's ways the motherfuckers cut themselves off from like genuine connection because your whole kind of that whole cleanup thing, like your whole framework for how you go into relationships is very like, you know, controlling, insecure, and that's not a space where you can even develop connection from that space. Not a good one, I'll say.
No, we don't know Hunter's situation, right? But for sake of the conversation, let's say hypothetically that's a similar dynamic that they have, right? He's like, hey, as long as we are partners X, Y, and Z, I don't really care if you do this, that, and the third, especially if, you know, I got the green light to do this, that, and the other. Especially once I'm in the league and I have more money, I'm going to be traveling in way more often. Like, this is our agreement, and we're okay with that, right? Because clearly he's a different kid. Mm-hmm. He's been a different kid from jump. But say that there's dynamic. Does that make you look at his situation differently of like, oh, this actually may be healthy because they've had this conversation. We just don't know what's going on, so we think that she's doing dastardly deeds, when in reality, no, we talked about this is okay, and this is not okay. We've had this established for years. Please stay out of our business.
Yeah, if they're in the space and that's something they've agreed on and it's from, you know, all the healthy spaces, you couldn't knock nobody for running their relationship in the dynamic that they choose to run it in. So yeah, I feel like that'd be kind of cut and dry. If Travis is like, I'm poly, and you know, and it's not from that space of like, you know, motherfuckers like kind of do the, I guess, I don't know if there's a term for it, but to me it just sounds like, you know, dishonest poly. Like, I want to keep this motherfucker, so I'm gonna start sucking coochie now. Like, you're not gay, man. You just don't want to lose this fucking meal ticket, or vice versa. You are operating, as we've said here before, various levels of loneliness, insecurity, and not feeling too good about yourself, regardless of which position you're in. This is the person that, you know, showed you affection, showed you attention, blah, blah, blah. So you're bending in ways that you really shouldn't. You're going against, not growing and not, you know, you're going against your values and shit to hold on to this, then that would be different. But if they both was like, yeah, I'm rocking with it, they ain't nobody can really, I mean, okay, obviously, yes, it's nobody's business but theirs. We've got that clear. But for the sake, like you said, for the sake of conversation, if they were really like fucking with that and like that's their dynamic, then shit, go nuts, be safe, you know. But yeah, go nuts.
I think that was a few of the comments that I saw in our section as far as people like, yeah, if they agree on it, then who cares? That was the stance of a few people. And then there's other people that may have been on the more mononormative aspect of things. Of like, one was trying to say that I'm a historical or designated side nigga or something. Like I was supposed to be insulted by that. Like you're gonna be a side nigga forever, basically. Like, okay, like, but if that's the stance that I'm choosing, then that's the stance that I'm choosing. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between communicating and not communicating it, right? Like if I'm choosing to be this and I'm placing myself in this position, that's my choice. But I do have to understand, am I making this choice from a healthy decision or a non-healthy position? Just because we are on the mononormative side of things does not mean that I am automatically doing that for a healthy reason. And I think that's part of the issue that a lot of people miss when talking about relationships in general. Like, just because you are doing something that you've been told is right doesn't mean that you're doing it in a healthy way. Just because you say, yeah, I'm going to do poly and I identify as poly doesn't mean that you're doing it from the ethical standpoint that you're supposed to be doing it from. You can still be doing it from a fuck nigga perspective.
You might have some Nick Cannon in your blood, baby.
I give Nick a little bit of grace. One, because Nick has the financial means to take care of the children that he creates. So he's not doing it completely irresponsibly. Two, he's very open and public about what it is that he's doing. So you can't say that he tricked you or lied to you about some shit. Everything else that happens behind the scenes, I don't know. But all of his baby mamas say that he's a great parent. He does what he could. He provides well. He's not a shit person. He's not a liar. So I would say he's doing it from the ethical standpoint relatively well. All the intricate details, I don't know. Nick is still Nick. Nick is going to have his corny moments and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, he's not doing it like a young boy.
Well, no, my pushback would be like, I don't see him and young boys that far apart because they are millionaires. So the financial aspect will always be there. You'll always have shoes. You'll always have big, prominent Christmases. But I know there are things that I feel like at a certain number of kids, unless everybody's in the same house. And even if they're in the same house, I feel like just with what it costs and what it takes to maintain that, you miss out on the things that motherfuckers fight tooth and nail for to be recognized as fathers. Because I feel like Nick, as different, non-linear thinking as like people claim it, it's like your claim to fatherhood is the same things that niggas argue tooth and nail about as far as, some of these patriarchal type views. Like, you're making yourself just a wallet because you're not having time to go to kid 6 for her recital, kid 3 for their piano lesson, kid 9 for his fucking championship football game as they continue to grow. Kid 11 is like, hey, like I'm getting into music now. So it's like I'm not able, like there's things that I just specifically, it's not a soundbite, it's not a phrase, it's mannerisms and energy that I've picked up from people in my life because they were there and present. Because you are Nick Cannon, your career in and of itself has you doing this, that, and the third. It's no way that you can be the father you need to be. And I think sometimes it messes up the dynamic when niggas go, you take care of your responsibilities, like him and the young boys, like they just kind of throwing money at them. But like these kids are now, to me, somebody, like, cross your heart, hope not. But it's on the trajectory of like, motherfuckers gonna miss out, and there's a barrel of issues that we've seen. Everybody know that the statistics are out there. Like motherfuckers post that regularly. Without a father in the home, there's crazy shit that could happen, like negatively for the child. Like coming around, what was that shit from Don't Be a Menace? I want to see my son. Okay, I'm out. Or was that fucking? It was Shawn Wayans.
Yeah, it was one of those.
Whichever one.
It might have been Don't Be a Menace.
Yeah, he's like, I want to see my son.
Take the picture with him and then be out.
All right, I'm out. It's just there. Like there's lessons. There are things that like are instilled in me that are carbon copies of my father without a phrase, a statement. It's how I move, how I act. And that's in no small part to just having time to be in his presence. Like if I'm So I just feel like that's another thing. Like you shouldn't do more than you can hold. And I feel like motherfuckers should, like you said, do the research. Like motherfuckers, I remember one time we was making a post, and it was it's this long interview of Dr. James Small, and he was even discussing, because a lot of niggas will talk about poly from, say, like the Muslim perspective. And he's like, well, if you're gonna do that, then you should read and come from that particular space. That was also like built around protecting the wives of the community. Like you and your friends go out and like die at war. I'm going to take up to, I think it was like up to 4 that I can handle. Yeah. So I know niggas like to say that, but like, one, you niggas are nigga. And even if you niggas were nigga, there's only so much that one human man can do. And if you're only going to say, I feel like Nick's doing a great job, then I feel like that boils certain aspects of fatherhood down to just cutting checks, when it's like, nah, you doing okay for your situation because you got no motherfucking choice. You'd had them now. And word to like the mothers, because I'm not gonna hold you, man. Like I'm a kick. I'm all on Nick's head. Well, Mariah Carey's Mariah Carey, but you got 1 baby mama, 2 baby mama, 3
baby mama,
4, 5. Whoever the fuck was after, whatever. There's a certain number. Once you get to kid number 3, I like you did this for a particular purpose. Could it be love? Sure. Could it also be that he's Nick Cannon? Yeah. Like I'm very much so for everybody taking their part. And some of y'all got some extra parts to play in this because you didn't make that decision.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about that kind of off air. Yeah, he may have the means to do it, but that doesn't mean that even the women, say he is taking the moral high ground and doing all the things he's supposed to do. That doesn't mean the women that agreed to it because they actually believe in it. They agreed to it because of an opportunity. And that's a whole nother situation. Now, granted, even just one person in the situation ends up polluting the situation. Mm-hmm. If both are all out of sorts, then it's really just polluting the situation kind of badly. But at least for what you're speaking, it made me think of something I talked to a lot of my clients about in the last couple of months as far as capacity management is concerned. Normally I talk about capacity management when it comes to how to draw boundaries with individuals.
Right.
Your boundaries are going to be based on your capacity 9 times out of 10. Like if I am fully self-aware and I understand that I'm able to do X, Y, and Z, then my boundaries have to be around X, Y, and Z. Right. It's still incumbent upon me to be responsible with how I'm implementing said boundaries. Mm-hmm. So say for Nick, in the poly space, like I understand that I have the financial means to handle 4 baby mamas. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that I should have 4 baby mamas based on my capacity? I have the means to pay for 10 to 15 children. Does that mean that I should have 10 to 15 children? Like my money says it's okay, but capacity management wise in every area, mentally, emotionally, time wise, libido wise, mental health wise, like do I have the ability to actually create the things that one aspect of my capacity says that I can create? Or am I just kind of looking at this in a skewed extreme way? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people say, it's like some of the people you mentioned in the comments that are like, oh, this is a cheat code. I'm going to do this now. I'm just going to say that I am solo pilot so I can get with the hoes. And it's like, no, because even if you do get away with that with certain women, that means you're still not entering it with capacity management on your mind. You're just going to do fuck all and end up polysaturated, meaning that you'll have a whole bunch of women of which you don't have the capacity to nurture healthy relationships with because you're not even understanding the boundaries. Like I could have partners now that they're not partners. I think I shared this before on the other pod, but like I can have, and to a degree I do have partners that they can be considered partners, but we don't sleep together. We love and support each other. I think a lot of people missed that part, granted, because they didn't see that in the clip or they didn't pay attention to it in the clip, but they also didn't watch the show of like, I expressed having multiple partners, not because I'm out here, dropping dick off to everybody. Some of these people are just people that I genuinely have in my life because I love, care for, and support them, and they do the same for me. And it ain't about sex. We may not even be having sex like that. We just genuinely love and support each other. And you can have partners like that, but that's also capacity management. I don't have the capacity to do X, Y, and Z. Say, for instance, I'll be transparent right now. I don't have the capacity for romantic partnership. Mm-hmm. I'm just getting out of, or really this whole year has kind of been grieving the loss of multiple relationships that I've been in for a few years. I don't have the capacity emotionally to be your boyfriend. Can we date? Can we spend time together? Can we nurture closeness together? Can we get to know each other? All of that, cool. We can do all that. It doesn't even have to include sex. Or we can have a casual, friendly, sexual relationship, whatever it is. But if you need me to be your primary partner, your guy, your man, I don't have that right now. Part of me is still grieving. The other part of me is just like, my capacity is tapped out in this area and I need to let it recharge. So if this is what you're looking for, I don't have it to give to you. But that's the ethical part. I'm responsible enough to say, hey, if this is the type of relationship you're looking for, I don't have that for you. What is your capacity when it comes to what you have to give to this space? And then we draw the boundaries around that.
That's valid. I think that's like, the upfrontness of it. I think, I don't know, is what everybody be saying they ask for. Like, I'm not here for this. I'm here for this. If this is cool with you, cool. If it's not, it's not. Yeah, I find that to be like, I don't know. I find that to be fair. I feel like there is a brand of motherfucker who is gonna take that information and be like, make it highly manipulative. Because I think that's also a thing with some of these dynamics of like, and I'm not knocking anybody for being a particular, running poly their particular way, but I think there is a brand of like, I'm not open to all aspects of it, and even won't put that on the board. Like, we'll say I'm poly, but it's like, say that you just, you like like Umar. I want 2 wives, and that's my bag. 2 wives, not like, and I don't know, and like stand in that, or because to ask for something that and you wouldn't give the level of types of freedom on the other side in some capacity makes it an issue. Like, you have to balance the scale in some form or fashion. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to, is like, motherfuckers try to run the stuff and don't get to have like understand the balancing act. It's like, if you're gonna have 2 wives, it probably would help you to find, then you cut off a good chunk of women and you have to find 2 women that are bisexual and into this throuple thing. And in this throuple thing, you are not necessarily the ruler unless they fucking get down like that, but you are now engaging with 2 other people. Y'all are a triforce of fucking wisdom. Y'all got to do this shit as a unit. Ain't like, you 2 bitches, come here. Like, that ain't. And I think that's how a lot of niggas in their brain is like.
In their brain, that's what they gonna have. I've had one bitch licking my toes and the other bitch making me breakfast. It's like, that's not how this shit works. That you just have pretty motherfuckers prancing around your house, letting them do whatever you tell them to do. And all you have to do is provide financial means, and you just run this shit like a harem. Like, that's not how that shit would. If that's how it goes, it's because that's how y'all agreed for it to go.
And I just like, and again, I'm a slave at this point to this balancing the scale shit. So if you run it like that, in mine, from what I've seen from motherfuckers, you run it like that. You got your 2, one licking your toes, the other one cooking breakfast, and then while you eating, one sucking dick, the other one eating ass. Like, you live in a great life. You live in a crazy, outrageously freaky nigga life. But the day comes when you are depressed. The day comes when you want to make some financial choices and you make some shifts. You gotta lead the business, or you have to shift careers. Like, things that really require somebody for you to have like a deeper connection, understanding. They should have some experiences. These motherfuckers, I just don't see having that. So now the cost of you having this amazing filth, flying filth, is you got some fucking losers in your house. And I don't, man, look, I've been a horny motherfucker my whole life. But the days of being horny enough to fuck with a loser is, I ain't got it, champ. Like, I like the idea. I'm not any higher than that. Like, the idea of 2 sets of titties running around the house is cool. But the day I'm locked in with like, oh, I trust this motherfucker. Like, I can't do nothing else but like have some sex, but you got to go home because me and this motherfucker got to figure it out. And if the cost of me having somebody locked in is I don't get 2 sets of ass cheeks, I'm okay.
Yeah, I've never. At some point, like the sex fades. I used to hear that a lot when I was younger and hear older people say that, and I got it but didn't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
And being especially stepping more into my poly the last 4 or 5 years and being open and talking to people and dating and all this other stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. It's not that sex isn't still good or whatever the case is. It's like, no, these are people at the end of the day. Once I'm done utilizing your orifices, there is something else attached to this body, to this vessel. It's a personality, it's aspirations, it's goals, it's talents and abilities, it's whatever. Hopefully you have those things.
If not, you got to go.
Right. If you don't have that, then poly or not, there's no reason for you to be here. There's no benefit. And I don't mean saying that as if it has to be transactional, but I can't consider somebody a partner if they can't do the partner duties. And I think that's what a lot of people end up missing in general. Poly or not, a lot of people focus on the really good of one area and they just latch onto that. It's like being in fucking comments and dudes who see said OnlyFans Instagram girl and be like, oh, she pressure, I'll wife that. Like, you know nothing of this woman. You just know that she does sex work. You don't even know what kind. She could just do foot stuff. She could be full-blown kinky dominatrix. She could just be running her vagina through the entire starting line of the Detroit Lions. Like, you don't know what the fuck she's actually doing. You just saw her and she's visually appealing and you said, insert her into the partner category of my life because I'm infatuated. Now, I know a lot of people say shit online just because it's a turn of phrase, right? Like, wife. And it's like saying something extreme. It's for us the extreme of saying I'd eat her ass. I'd go that far before I go to marriage. Like, I'll risk putting my tongue in your cheeks before I risk attaching my name to you for the government to see contractually. I'm not going to do that. But some of it is just lip service, which I understand. But there really are people that make those decisions of, because this person looks a certain way, I am willing to tolerate things outside of my capacity. I'm willing to tolerate the fact that they don't have the attributes or abilities that I need a partner to have. Terrible. Why would you degrade yourself to do something along the lines of that? I just don't understand it. But I understand it. Job security for me. So proceed. I'll see you in couples therapy later. But why would you do that to yourself? So no, I can't. Poly or not, the sake of having two sets of everything running around the house does not mean that I'm going to deal with you being said loser. I will shoot myself some bail, but also hold myself accountable. I could potentially, and have definitely in the past, overlooked inabilities in certain areas. I won't call you a complete loser, but I can see like, oh, you have the potential to do X, Y, and Z, but you're not where I would need you to be in order to be this type of partner. I have learned over said years that I don't have to call you a loser per se, but I can acknowledge that you are not qualified to be in this position yet. And I, just like many men, have to say, you know what, I'm going to let you go ahead and do your thing until you gain said skills, right? Like, we learned that on the job. Hey, you have great qualifications in all these 10 areas, but there's another 6 areas that are really, really important to the job that you just have no ability or experience utilizing right now. Hey, go get those credentials and some experience in those areas and then come back and you can reapply. The door is open, but the position is not.
So I think that makes me think about, like, that's how you get to, like, I would wife her man, because that usually, I think, kind of, this is not looking for anybody to, like, you know, deserve less or kick nobody's back in necessarily. Well, I'm kicking the niggas back in, but not to kick the woman back in. At least not yet. But that's where that like kind of cycle comes of, you know, part of it is if y'all are not fucking a match made in heaven, then like that makes sense. Don't force nothing that's not there. Mm-hmm. But the idea that there's always I'll fucking spit in her butt after motherfucking 5K, drag across my face, I'll marry her, and never taking into account that this person doesn't necessarily have that skill set to be a proper partner. The person never gains those skills. So I sometimes don't think that a lot of times people don't always spin the block because there is somebody there to be like, I'll do it. Which I guess in a certain aspect, like if that's the match made for you, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's certain situations where I feel like, this was just a proper match, and other situations where it's like, we could frame it as, what's meant for you is meant for you, but also kind of a lesser when it's said and you said, all right, cool. Like it was more settling than we like to fucking call it, but
yeah,
enjoy.
And that's another lesson that I've personally been learning or acknowledging. At least it makes me think of like within capacity management. Somebody could fit a certain capacity for a certain amount of time, and then at some point they are no longer able or willing to fulfill whatever the capacity is needed for that time. And you have to say, all right, well, let me go ahead and walk away. Or if you're there trying to leave, let me go ahead and let you leave. Let me not try to convince you to stay, because capacity management wise, I'm going to overextend myself, and I'm going to overextend your abilities in a certain area that you are not able or willing to, sit within.
I think that's sometimes like a thing that I would argue that it's a thing that niggas face that they don't acknowledge often, or as often as might be perceived. Because everybody acts like they're always like, man, I'm fucking fed up. I'm fucking out the door. Fuck that bitch. But I was like, I feel like there's a lot out there where people don't. You wait for the big thing. You wait for it to get cheated on. You wait for this motherfucker to punch your mom. You wait for this motherfucker to just completely crash out. And it takes a while, as opposed to going like, this person just has not been a good person for me for a long time.
Yeah.
And that being enough to go, hey, like this is tough convo, but like, I don't want to do this. Like the way they make it look on TV, I'm like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just, and then they have like the dramatic music hits and they walk out the door. But that conversation be like, 30 seconds tops. And I think like motherfuckers be trying to have those, and then somebody goes like, well, why? And they're like, oh shit, I think this is gonna go this far. What the fuck? So I just think like, I'm not saying just giving people a justification to stay in bad situations, but I do think that there's an element of, there's other pieces that inform how we fucking interact with others. And it's like, nah, nigga, like you didn't pay attention to how hard this was gonna be because you care about this person. You just, now the thoughts of you caring about yourself and your well-being are kind of like, and especially if you take the time, which I think it takes to really like investigate where your thoughts are coming from, so it's not just this motherfucker not doing what I want type shit. Like you're not on a selfish tip. Like you're really kind of shit. That could have you sitting somewhere for extra 3-4 months, or you kind of, let alone if you're doing it like by yourself. You have like some therapy. It probably like jumpstarts the process, but it could take a while for you to hit the shit. Okay, now that I've done I got my little wall and I got my little red wire and I look like that fucking meme of this was it. This is why we. And then you like, nigga, that took time. And in that time frame, you're having experiences. And in those experiences, you're like, damn, I keep having to add more red wire to why the fuck this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it just is tough. My whole thing is just, motherfuckers like, I'm not saying don't do it. Because at the end of the day, you do have to like pull plugs on certain shit. But I give people a little grace on why that's such a hard thing to do. That, guys, was a bit of, personal disclosure. Because I had personally struggled with that. Like, you know what? You're not a terrible, but I gotta get the fuck out of here. I got abandoned ship.
I've extended my welcome sometimes by years.
Yeah. Especially if you add in like what you're supposed to do as a quote unquote, like your job, you're this. If you leave, role. Yeah, if you leave, how is this supposed to? And it's like, well, fuck. All right.
Which makes it, I'll say it doesn't change the decision. It just makes it, it takes more out of you to actually make that decision. The decision has been the decision that needed to be made for whatever, for a few months, for a year, for a couple years, for 3 kids ago. Whatever the situation is, the decision needed to be made at this time. And the longer that I prolong it, the harder it makes it for me to make that decision. So it's best to, 1, be self-aware, going back to the capacity management, 2, being aware of the capacity of your partners, 3, being aware of your boundaries and saying, all right, if it is time to bounce, let me rip the Band-Aid off now as opposed to me having to unwrap bandages from all the different cuts and sutures and surgeries and shit that I've endured, because I should have gotten rid of this when it was just a Band-Aid.
You got to amputate.
That too. I got to learn how to walk again because my big toe done got cut off.
I got to cut a whole arm off and then cauterize. It ain't no coming back. You never go get this limb back.
And still have to manage all the other shit that I had to manage before. I just have to manage it with less potential. Like getting these limbs amputated. I had to walk away from this relationship at some point, and I've given so much. I still have to do the shit. Like I said, 3 kids ago, I still have to raise these 3 kids. I may have to do it differently because I'm not with this person anymore, but I've done so much damage to myself by not walking away when I needed to, by not assessing and adhering to my boundaries and capacity that I needed to, that when I finally did walk away, my battery will only get up to 75% from here on out. I will never be 100% in my battery ever again because of the decisions that I've made. That's a bit of an issue. No, never is a stretch because it's going to take you time to rebuild back to that 100. But
there we go.
You know, it's going to take you some time.
Y'all not finna Dr. Brian us around this bitch. Nobody can ever change.
Yeah, no, I ain't going.
Nobody can ever change you. Or you are. We're just gonna mask all the way through and never, ever fucking get over it and figure it out.
She is 1000% correct. I want all of you to go like, follow, and subscribe to all her platforms. And I just want you to ingest all of her material and the things that she says and does from now until, let's say, February, March, because I will see you in August or September.
I do have a bit of that like perspective on a lot of things that I see. Like I'm gonna make fun of it because it's like clearly on like days when I don't have shit and I don't feel like clipping or really doing whatever. Like it's easier to make some of the memes or whatever. But I have zero interest in going back and forth about it. Like I'm convinced that is wrong. Whatever the fuck I'm making fun of that day. Like I gave it some thought. 9 times out of 10, I've had a few talks or conversations about it. We've had a few talks or conversations about it, and it's like, yeah, I agree that this is terrible and wrong. Like you're not gonna like it'll be a very weird day to catch me going back and forth with you in any comments about or whatever. Or, you know, if you message me, we might have a conversation like DM wise, depending if you want to like talk. But I'm listening to y'all. I just, oh yeah, that's crazy dumb. Like it's certain shit that's so crazy dumb. I'm never, okay, you got it. I'm a big, okay, you got it there. Like you for sure got it. What the fuck are you talking about?
Nothing.
And I'm not trying to be like, you know, everything I say is not correct. It just certain shit register in my brain. If a motherfucker came in here and tried to like MAGA talk me, I'm not having no conversation with you, big dog. It's nothing you can say about that like is gonna make that make sense.
I've had a few of those situations this year.
We're at the Valley, man. I don't know what y'all doing.
Yeah, I don't. Capacity management. I'm not about to go back and forth with you over this topic.
I saw some back and forth about it. Specific, you know, we've kind of dabbled into whatever the political part of this fucking show is. And I'm a staunch 10 toes down proud HBCU grad. SWAC HBC, you know, like big time.
The S
Grambling.
is silent.
Go Tigers. That's enough niggas over there. It's the whack. They already got their own shit to say over there. It's a big SWAC. Big S. Big capital S, capital W, capital A, capital C.
Throw it up, Junkie.
I don't know what's going on in Mississippi Valley. I don't really know all of their like, you know, fucking financial situations. I understand the issues we go through as HBCUs, getting funding and things like that. But this shit of them fucking going out here to perform at the inauguration, like, dog, I can't get with it. I saw a couple conversations. I even like, you know, had some information from the bowels of Facebook, and I don't even know how to fuck to work Facebook anymore. I feel reverse old. There was conversations back and forth, but like the more you look up stuff, I'm not seeing anything where niggas is getting paid to go. I'm not seeing anything where they're getting promised any financial like aid or help. It's just like we want help to get us to pay us to get down there from the alumni and stuff. And like the general idea is that the performance will make the Orange Grinch's heart grow 2 sizes that day and he help. Like I don't understand it. And I'm at this point now, I'm growing day by day, like more interested in like what the fuck the logic is. Like I need some justification aside from like we're going to perform for like visibility, and maybe within the visibility we'll get, because who's looking for this except like the white people? Like, I'm not understanding how like HBCU, like, oh, the black people gonna be like, oh, they perform for Trump, I need to go down there and fuck with them, as opposed to, yikes, I thought about Valley, but I'm probably gonna go to anywhere the fuck else. So what the fuck y'all was over here doing with Trump? And if those, like, are you looking for the incredibly like, I don't feel like it's been that much change. Like, Louisiana ain't nothing to fucking, you know, kick your heels about, but like Mississippi, big time race. Like, you know, like, it's fucking like, you want some racism, come on down to Mississippi.
And illiterate.
Yeah. And so it's like, are you expecting like those individuals, or the individuals that are down with the Trumpies, to send their kids to Valley? Like, there's no way I make this make sense in my head. Because like, if even in that fantasy where they go down to Valley, it's like this influx of conservative students going to take Mississippi by storm. It instantly is no longer the institution that we're fighting for it to be. There's instant, extreme fucking changes, and I don't know what it is. I feel like there is obviously some financial fucking motivation here, but I'm not seeing how you guys gather it doing this. If somebody made that make sense, or maybe I got to go do some other research, it would at least make sense in my brain. I don't know that I would support it, but it would make sense in my brain. This idea to do it for like the hope of I don't know, like white sympathy is wild. Shit, y'all do better doing what everybody else does. Hold them motherfucking celebrity niggas at fucking, fuck y'all doing, man? Like,
at gunpoint?
Maybe. Come on, man. Like, you know, I'm from wherever I'm. Okay, cool. Here.
Y'all go
like,
to the town meeting and be pissed off more than an Amber.
Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, it's a couple of y'all that went to Ole Miss and like did great things. Like, and y'all are in the league now. You gonna give that money to Ole Miss? They don't need it. Chunk it. I'm super okay with that, like, mindset of what if it was you? If I was rich, I would give back. If I was rich, I like at that level of rich, and it's like constantly rolling in. Yeah, Grambling for sure would know that they would get like something up out of me on a yearly basis. Just put it in my fucking budget.
Right. So, I mean, that brings up one of many ingredients in said pie. Is it a people that went to Valley not coming back to give back to the institution issue? Is it a structural issue? Is it a I'm forcing everybody to run with what I'm cool with identity because I think that this is going to be good for everybody else, but I'm not really looking at the big picture. It's just going to be good for me. Is it a this is going to be financially beneficial and this is a greed decision? Like, what do you really think is the biggest contribution to this decision being made?
To me, I find it to be a structural issue, and I understand a level of desperation for schools. Like, you know, I love my school, but it's like there were times where, like, when I was like in school, that there was like, you know, conversations about financial stuff kind of going awry. But we are, I think, a popular HBCU. Howard's popular as fuck. Like, there are things that kind of, you know, generate income and stuff consistently. Like, I don't believe Valley is like one of the most paid ones, but that's as much as you might want to say it's a Valley issue. I'm like, bro, it's probably a state issue about how the money is differentiated between some of these schools, how resources are allocated to these schools, HBCUs in general. So, and you know, you got motherfuckers in here like, you know, I grew up on the WWE. I never wanted Vince McMahon's wife in the office in control of education. So, like, there are big systemic issues that create these things for these schools. Like, yeah, you want to go recruit more people, but it's hard to get somebody. Like, I've gone to Valley. Like, it's hard to probably get somebody to want to go to that specific area in Mississippi, and then you have to build up the college. You have to make it fucking, you know, if I'm taking college fucking trips and shit, like, yeah, okay, goddamn. Like, I can understand a motherfucker going to UCLA and going, goddamn, this shit looks sexy than a motherfucker. You need resources and money and things to do that. Those are structural issues. I'm not saying Mississippi Valley needs to look like fucking LSU, but there are and then, like, I know that was something, I can't confirm it, but that was something that was saying like they have been denied or they're owed back money from certain things, but haven't been able to get the money from, you know, whatever. I don't know how true that is, but even things like that, like there's no reason that like some of these institutions, and then even the way we like shape or put together like educate, like, you know, the education system in general, especially like higher education. Like all of us in motherfucking debt. So you would want to. There's tons of pride left and right with some of these schools, all of these schools. But it's like, fuck, man, I love my school, but I don't have enough money to really impact my school because, nigga, I can't make rent.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, dual degree nigga sitting on this couch. And I'm like, I my associate number just came through. And like, while that can be cool in my I still don't have, let's make a dent in my fucking school. Like, I would love to be with them niggas. Like, oh yeah, like, you know, you go, like, Harvard is a great whatever. And if you go all the history of racist white people and how they function in this country, and then the niggas just show up and throw millions at a fucking school because they've had access to millions because your family's been on the up and up since fucking money was invented in this country. Mine was slaves. Like, that shit is never going to go away. So there's just a variety of things, 5 different fucking snowballs about as big as this motherfucking room, knocking people left and right. So systemic, I think.
Systemic and structural.
Systemic and structural is the issue, and systemic and structural, I feel like, snowball into every other thing you said.
So that will make me do we change the structure or do we try to dismantle the structures that are affecting us?
I feel like at this point people have to really, and I never say this. I know I joke about it. I know I say it often. It's not as flippant in my brain when I think about where that could take people, but you have to very, very heavily start flirting with option B of like flipping it over, because it's I don't even know how many generations. Every generation since niggas got quote unquote free has done it option A. You get in, you do this, and up until now you've gotten in and you did your big one. You've got the first whatever, and you fuck around and produce a Clarence Thomas. You get in there, you do your big one, and you get Trump reelected. Like, you get in there, you do your big one, and you have Democrats when they like have their fucking power and they have their ability and they don't come through on their promises. So it's like at a certain point you have to start figuring out what does flipping some of this shit over look like, because that's how things, you know, get progress. Like and understanding, I understand the consequence of that because they're in our history books in my brain and on the internet. They taking the history books out to schools now, which is another crazy thing, because they don't want you to fucking see that change can happen, but also you might have to be a Malcolm X. You might have to be the Panthers. These people didn't just like Martin Luther King didn't die for our, they killed him and they killed him when he was getting ready to stand up and go, hey man, we coming for our check. Like, they didn't kill him because, you know, he had a dream. They killed him because he was up there and said, hey man, like, these land grants, these things that you're just like giving people millions and millions of dollars to set up their lives, we don't have that. And then they said poof. But that would have been a wild change because niggas would have heard that and they would have got to whatever. But then he got shot and everybody said, oof, that's dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, people that know me personally know I've joked for many years, burn it all to the ground and start over. And although I may be being facetious to a degree, I'm also serious, because in some situations, as you're kind of highlighting, you say flip the table. I say burn the whole motherfucking house down and let's try this shit again. But there are some aspects of the structures that we function within that we have to abandon. It may not necessarily be burning it down or flipping the table. We just have to realize that this table doesn't suit us. We can't sit at this table because it's wobbly and it doesn't have enough spaces for all the people that need to sit here to actually create and have and share a meal. So this is not where we need to be. Let's find a different table. Instead of flipping this one over, let's just abandon it altogether. Kind of tying that into the original conversation as far as poly is concerned. Like, that is, to me, that's an aspect of flipping the table or burning it all down or leaving the table altogether. This structure does not fit me or suit me. I have to allow myself to sit back and understand what table can I sit at, because capacity management wise, this is what's best for me and what I have and what I need going forward. So when it comes to a valley, not to say that they abandoned being an HBCU, but say, for instance, with Trump, with this president, you've been here before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know we had the narrative, a lot of uninformed masses before, like, I vote for Trump because Trump, look what he did for HBCUs. Do your research, you find out Obama gave more than he did. He publicized it more because he was using it as a pandering trope to get you motherfuckers to vote for him. But he really didn't give as much as Obama did. But because you think he did something for you, we're going to vote for him again, only to see at the end of those 4 years, he really didn't do as much as he could or should have. And now we're voting for him again. And now we have situations where HBCUs are trying to pander to the president to figure out how he can do something with the current structure to help us out. Why do I keep coming to this table? It's missing a leg. Some of the chairs are not here. The food slides over to the left side. My drinks can't sit on top of it. And on top of all that, the few seats that are available at this table, they say no niggas allowed. So why the fuck would I want to continue to come? I can't sit at the table, so I'll be the performance for the dinner, and that would get me at least in the room or in the building. Like, at what point do you say this structure is not suitable to me? Let's not even consider this structure an option to help us stay afloat. Let's not even pay attention to this system. You can find every alumni to ever come from Valley and say, hey, can you give us a pledge of donating $5 a month? We just want $5 a month. You can pay it off once. You can pay it off literally $5 a month. We'll build and I know every university does have people that reach out to alumni and try to get donations, but finding ways to get your alumnus to give something, even if it's just $1, I'm sure that would help the system way more than going to perform at the Red House and getting a motherfucker to hopefully do something. Yeah,
where black people and white people sell furniture.
They selling furniture. All right. Furniture that was made by materials of our ancestors. That's what them motherfuckers is selling. I don't want to be in there. No disrespect to Mrs. McMahon. I didn't want to see her making decisions at WWF when she was there. Like, I don't want to see her making.
Man, it might be fuck Miss McMahon. It might be fuck the hoe. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know that bitch.
I don't know her personally. I know the most I know about Mrs. McMahon is how they postured her on the show, as far as her going against Vince, because Vince was creepy old man who was always going to do what was necessary for money and business and manipulating this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So there are moments where she's supposed to be morally forthright. She's supposed to be an upstanding citizen of a woman, and she's trying to beat her oppressive husband, right? The story of white America, the man being a piece of shit and the woman is just so virtuous. She's trying to overthrow him so she can have equality and power just like him and right all the wrongs that her husband has created. Aside from just leaving the motherfucker, you could easily just leave him, but you don't want to leave him. I want to have everything he has and I want to do the right thing. Cool. I get that's how they postured her on the show, which he had a hand in writing and creating.
Y'all got to read They Were Her Property, because that whole get down about like fucking.
I posted that book like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, like, you know, like, oh man, we were all. Man.
Your feminism is a lie. I'll say that.
They wore us as actual outfits.
Absolutely.
But all right, you know, whatever.
A lot of people get mad at that statement, but literally your feminism that we practice in this country is a lie. It was based in women that had way more power than any of us and did not include any of us. They started these tit for tats, these tiffs with the men folk because they wanted to have the amount of power and ability that those oppressive men had. It was not to liberate anybody. It was to have the equal opportunity to oppress somebody the way that they do and make money off of it. And a lot of them were way more instrumental in the oppression that we dealt with than the men were. There was plenty of women that string him by his penis, Cletus. That's what you want me to do? I don't really know, Lurleen. Should we actually do it anyway? You say you love me, kill the nigger and cut his dick off. Like a lot of those women, although they didn't have power in certain structures, they had power and influence in their households because their husbands were slack-jawed yokels that could not fucking read.
Rosewood, yeah.
Absolutely.
It kind of reminds me of that.
Damn near 60% of our stories as far as some white woman doing some bullshit that caused our neighborhood to get burnt to the ground.
I hope that white woman, like, that relied on Emmett Till, but I hope she and Hell just going through it, man. I hope they set aside free time. I hope it's like a event at every level. I hope she has to visit every level, and they just be like, "Hey, what's up? Like, it's your turn," and they just run her back up the elevator every fucking day. But no, yeah, I think I haven't thought about it like a lot. It just reminds me, like, I've been on this whole, like, I've had one of my little, like, YouTube fucking rabbit hole spirals, and it was a lot of like those podcasts and like talks from Joseph Mpunga and like some of the like the intellectuals from like maybe like across the continent or whatever, and they were having more conversations around the differences between like feminism here and like how people take those ideals and try to bleed them over onto like what was matrilineal, and we did have like patrilineal, civilizations over there, and like they're just not the same thing. Like it is they're all systems in one way or another based on our unity and balance, as opposed to what a lot of stuff you see on the internet here is like patriarchy with titties. Like you want the same things. Granted, I'm not saying this like for everybody, but they're like
white titties with pink nipples.
Yeah, like you just want to like stick it to men, and then there's all that rhetoric about how like we as a community got kind of like caught up in it and these ideals that were never ours, like generationally, and now we all just kind of are on the internet, having pod wars with one another.
But I think that goes back to part of the conversation we had at the beginning of the episode with the poly aspect, as far as just because somebody says something or does something that's appealing, that doesn't mean you understand their intention for why they're doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of women jumped on the feminist boat, not really understanding the motive of the women that were creating said feminism, the way that it's practiced here. Mm-hmm. Right? Not saying that feminism within itself is terrible. That's not what I'm saying. Just to clarify for some of you slow humans that may not understand what we're talking about. But yeah, there's large aspects of us that just said, that sounds good, I support it, and you didn't take a second to use some discernment and find out, well, what's your actual motive for saying what you're saying. A lot of us, just to hold us accountable as far as black people, a lot of us have gone through some of the shit that we've gone through because we did not use discernment with said wahites. We didn't discern them as much as we should. We didn't sit back and analyze what their actual motives were. You say you want to do slavery. We do slavery here as well. They become part of our tribe, part of our community. They can never be noble, but we allow them to at least live here peacefully. Oh yeah, we're going to do the same thing with our slaves. And you didn't sit there and use discernment and like really analyze. These motherfuckers came here with disease and guns and shit. Like, don't nobody show up with guns to negotiate peacefully.
Yeah, I think I will say one thing. I think that there's a bit of, because I see that in some of these like conversations that pop up, like especially as I've been like kind of looking at some of that stuff, is like the disconnect or misunderstanding from both sides about what it looked like from, like motherfuckers will talk about, slavery, and like there's elements of the culture across the continent that like talks down on us, as opposed to seeing like, we are the cultural epicenter of like the planet at this point, and not understanding that like what chattel slavery took from us and how that informs how we move throughout society in the world or whatever. And on the flip side, not fully always seeing the like the impact of like colonialism over there. Like it might not have been chattel slavery, but like their impact here has washed away tons of shit. Like, I didn't know, like, over there, like, how they, I guess, open up Parliament, is like a prayer either from Christianity or from Islam. But if you go in there with, like, some traditional African fucking, like, spirituality, it's like, it's a motherfucking, it's a goddamn witch.
Witches and heretics, these goddamn voodoos.
Hey, you get real Warhammery. It's like, heretic!
Holy shit. But that, even something today that kind of shows how things are not as inclusive. It's like when people react weirdly to indigenous people doing the fucking haka in the council meeting when there's some shit that they don't agree with and that's their variation of disruption.
God, that was the coldest video of the year. She is my favorite person, whoever that lady is.
But that's something that needs to be accepted widely. Like there's so many people that don't even understand culture or whatever the case is from that avenue to where they look at that as like, the fuck is this crazy bitch doing? Not understanding, one, this is a cultural thing. Two, my culture is not accepted here, which is why I chose this variation of uprising. Like this is my variation of flipping the table.
You can't get white folks to not step in the way when niggas is doing the stroll. They forgot their sure.
Oh yeah,
respect the goddamn hawker.
They don't right. They see a stroll, they jump in and want to do it with us, and like I know you know that you're not supposed to do this.
I always wonder because like I've seen this before, and one of these is like an actual. I don't know this particular person, but I'm gonna try not to step on other people's business. Just in general, when I think about this, is like a question posed to like the poly homies, like the poly community, Polynesian. Or I mean, if you're a Polynesian, but whatever.
Poly square.
When other cultures be having the tattoos, do y'all be like, you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't like if I just saw like a Polynesian person just steal off on a motherfucker because I'm like, you're not really from that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not like a fashion fucking trend. Like that's some cultural shit to it. Why you got that on? I just have always, every time I see that and it's not of the culture, I'm like, it's kind of
appropriate. It's an aspect of appropriation. You have to do it from a certain level of respect. Now, that doesn't mean that the person doing it doesn't respect it. But sometimes the biggest way that you can respect it is to not do it.
Yeah, man, where your wife or husband at? What is this?
Right.
Like I need something.
Right.
I be having all these fucking thoughts in my brain. I'd be like, I know this shit means something. So I was like, what does yours mean? And like, I better see a fucking confirmation that this is what somebody gets as they married in. I want the backstory. I be in my head. I be angry like I'm gang, but I'm just saying this shit weird to me.
It is, but why certain cultures more than others? Like you see white people that get Polynesian-esque tribal tattoos, or you'll see them get the Buddhist, Hindu, whatever symbols of spirituality and whatnot put on their body. I don't see you motherfuckers trying to tattoo no African orishas on your body. Very rarely do I see y'all tattooing an Ndinkra symbol of some sort. Not that I'm telling you that you should.
Don't do that.
You can completely stay away and continue to. I'm sure there are white people with that out there. I know that for a fact because I've seen white people with like the Unk tattooed on their body. And, you know.
But see, I find that, my bad.
No, I'll go.
I find that to be a little different. I think it's still fucked up, but I think white people try their best not to associate Egypt with us. So in their minds, it's just spiritual, whatever. I actually would be a little surprised for motherfuckers to do orishas because then that would make you have to either you just completely oblivious. I just thought it was nice, or you have to actually acknowledge that like there's significant, strong spiritual practices that we had already before all this shit got to jumping. Now, why you got that on? Because in my mind, like those practices and those particular pantheons deal with motherfuckers who are actively boots on the ground, see what the fuck you doing. So that's what you and your ancestors come in. Go ahead and put it on and see how that work out for you. I put it on your back, and I hope that motherfucker pull up and have a conversation with you.
I would thoroughly enjoy that.
Put that on your back.
It would be
now.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do understand as far as like it would take a certain level of responsibility for you to do that. And part of you knows that you don't really want smoke like that. Like you don't want to be that responsible. So you choose not to do it.
Hey, come on, man. I just don't think they infuse all that fear. Everything that y'all do from y'all side of the town, from y'all side of the world is witchcraft, boy. Pull up on a plantation to today and call get all the RADA. Everybody get up. RADA. Just see, look, what? Don't let me figure out how to fucking get to calling on the people. I'll do it, boy.
Random thought, but I don't think I've ever seen, like I've seen certain situations where white people are defending white supremacy and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen other situations where white people are standing up to oppressive systems and talking shit about them and laying into them because they know that we couldn't do it and they have the privilege of doing it and walking out the room unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't never seen none of you motherfuckers walk up to none of these plantations that are now like historical museums and shit like that and be like, fuck you guys for trying to use this as a museum. You know what your family was doing here. This bitch need, I don't see y'all occupying picket lines and shit in front of these cotton field museums to say, hey, you guys are still profiting off of the pain of black people and this shit is disgusting. It needs to stop.
Well, I'll say it like this. In my brain, and I'm not saying that, you know, promoting said activities at said level, but also at the same time, I just feel like you do that where you feel like the man works. And I'm not knocking it. You need talkers, you need people to articulate their points, you need, you know, long and dreary ass protests and fight the good fight. But also the reason why you don't go down there and do all that shit is because them niggas will get with you. Like, just physically get off in that ass. And my usual critique of the left is, it ain't a lot of get off in that assness on this side. It's a lot of, you fucking fascist. And that motherfucker ball his fist up and say, fast this bitch. Like, and then when he do that, he load up that motherfucker, that goddamn it, and be aiming it at you. So I understand why they don't. I don't know how to necessarily put that energy on this end, because on that end they got that. They got low IQ and bad talking points, but anger and with the bullshitness in high regard. They motherfuckers fighting two different fights.
Part of me feels like that's been whooped out of our side, because we had that at one point in time.
Yeah,
we just haven't tried to revisit. That's a table that worked. We came to this table and it worked. The only issue is, like, if you sit at this table, you gotta clean the table, clear the table, you gotta bust your dishes down, put them back, and you gotta do some chores afterwards. And ain't no guarantee that you're gonna like the meal that you get. And we just was like, you know what, this ain't worth it. I'd rather just go sit at the other table, because at least the food is good. They don't always let us sit here. Sometimes we got to eat standing up, and sometimes we may have to eat out of our hands. But at least the food is good. It's better than having to do all this work over here at this table. I feel like that's where we've arrived at in certain spaces. Like, we'll complain about the circumstances at this table, but we won't continue to, like, go back to flipping that bitch over, because when we did, we got that ass whooped so bad. Like, for us, I always go back to the Panthers. The Panthers showed how it was successful. Mm-hmm. Having lunch programs and doing this and doing that and supporting and uplifting your community, had it all around the country, different cities, a whole 9 yards. And then the FBI came in and started doing all this bullshit. And nobody's tried since to really do it to that level. And we have the ability and means to do it better than they did it without the repercussions. We just have not had the gumption to try. For whatever reason. Maybe we got too comfortable, maybe because things seem like they're better on the surface, so we're like, we don't have to do that anymore because there's none of those circumstances around anymore. There are some of you that are saying that foolishness. But, like, for whatever multiple reasons, we don't.
I think sometimes we don't take into account all that's happened to us until it's time to, like, use it as a ploy to shoot at the other side. Like, there was a video, that video I sent you, I was going to play it, but it's long, where the girl was talking about, like, oh, fuck it. Because I want to say I found it in this shit. Damn it, I lost it again. You sons of bitches.
Got to pull it up to the top.
Random noise. Okay, found it. I hope it plays. Come on, motherfucker.
To breed. I've been thinking about this ever since the Dr. Umar Nick Cannon interview. For some black men because it wasn't required. Marriage is so scary for some black men because it wasn't required on a plantation to breed. I've been thinking about this ever since the Dr. Umar Nick Cannon interview, and I'm trying to figure out why so many men think babies are more of a commitment than marriage. And it always leads me back to bucks on a plantation. Marriage was something you weren't able to do. It was forbidden. But babies were something you were required to have. So if you're required to have babies, babies don't seem like such a great commitment. And if marriage was forbidden and black women weren't wives before you bred them, then you don't see marriage as something that's important. It's a fantasy almost. Because bucks don't get married. They get people pregnant. Marriage is so scary.
So, how do I say this?
You assume that all the babies that were created on the plantation were willing, just like you assume that all marriages are willing. On certain plantations, they partnered certain people together unwillingly, and the man still stayed committed to that woman out of safety and out of community and out of support.
And the nigga Bible said you was going to hell.
And the nigga Bible said you was going to hell. But also, yes, you said that marriages were forbidden. You did not acknowledge the fact that those marriages still happened. There were people that got married and had children, and then my husband gets sent somewhere else because it was a profit for him to get sent somewhere else. And that woman still may honor her husband for a certain amount of time. Like, my husband is gone, but I'm still married to him, so I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And that may be why she got forced to be with said buck and create children. The children that were created by said buck weren't doing so because he was like, yeah, I'm about to get all this pussy in this plantation. They put me in the right fucking spot. They got some hoes up in here. I'm going to like it here. That was not the case. It was profitable for the white person. The system forced this individual to do something and create something for its profit. And you're leveraging the conversation, in my opinion, as if the woman is the only victim in the situation, which she's not. The men were victims as well. They still loved and supported and wanted to marry each other, but they also understood the consequences. I may get sent away from this bitch, or our children may get sent away from here. So even if we do decide to love each other, we're going to love each other in secret or in silence. And the other people here know that we are together. But we don't need the massa and everybody else to know that we're together. Why? Because I don't want them to target me or you and send you away or send me away or fuck you as punishment to me. Because some of these babies that were made on said plantation was mulattoes. Tons. Oh, you love this here buck, huh? Oh, y'all think y'all married. Okay, I got something for you. And then next thing you know, she's pregnant with said mulatto babies. And she's depressed. She don't know what the fuck to do. She can't get rid of the baby. She has this abomination in her stomach. He looks at her and kind of resents her. But there's nothing that he can do about it because he understands that she was powerless in that situation. So now he's kind of resenting. Like there's a whole system of abuse that's happening for the individuals involved. So for you to focus on only the marriage aspect, to make the man as the problem and the woman the victim, as slaves, you're the problem as a man slave. It's your fault because you didn't learn the importance of marriage. You thought that just having babies was the thing, X, Y, and Z. This is what you thought it was, so that's why you don't value baby. That is the most irresponsible take. I understand what she was trying to say, but there's so much context that you left out, and it's very important context.
Well, that's sometimes I go back and forth. I don't know if I misunderstood what she was trying to say. I think she said exactly what she was trying to say. My point bringing that up before I just kind of go into the video was her saying that reminds me of, like, at this point is, I ain't gonna say it's common knowledge, but there's been a lot of discussions and people like are aware, especially if you have, like, you follow, any of your good black content creators that talk about, like, political or social issues. Epigenetics is a thing. Epigenetics is a scientific fact that trauma from your previous generations affects you today. Like, even something you sent me where this white lady was up there discussing, like, the importance of understanding what the man is going through, because there's a good chunk of it. It's not taking away from women carrying the kid. That is a just biological, physical, miracle feat. But what informs a lot of what goes on in that process still comes from the man. Like, what goes on in these balls and fires off in there is very, very important. So, and the genetics and epigenetics and things like that all coincide. We were all slaves. We were all mutilated. We were all fucked up. So how she says that bothers me. I kind of lost where I was going with that with the previous one. But whatever I said before, there's something about epigenetics where I was trying to land there, about how that affects us all and how that affects like how we maneuver and interact and on top of that, it's not like we just had slavery and shit was like instantly better. This generation was traumatized. That generation was traumatized. Me and my sister have conversations often about like just spitballing like about our grandparents' journey. Like grandparents like were born in the 30s. Like well it like 30 grandfather's born like in 39. Mm-hmm. So you know you go through the 40s. Like you went through some real like outrageous fucking times. We're living, breathing, conscious, aware, pre-civil rights in the fucking South, in the deep South. So you live that life, you survive all that. You know full well people who have died, been lynched. You've seen it. You've experienced this terrible shit. You know what it's like to go outside and have to be home before a certain time because they'll kill you outside. You make this whole long journey to come to a completely other side of the fucking country. You live through shit like the Watts riots, LAPD being one of the most fucking outrageously crazy shits on planet Earth as far as a fucking police force. So just those experiences as black people, what we've all gone through collectively is insane. So to make a video like that, which still has good context, good content as far as what she's getting at, but to frame it as, and I'm as much as I just kick Nick's back in, but to frame it like niggas are just choosing to be like bad people or like they're choosing not to get married without taking into account like what marriage might have meant, what niggas felt like to know full well, whether it's here or even on the continent, whatever matrilineal, matriarch, patriarch, there's a level of protection, and I would go to bat for my partner. To have me locked up ass open while they put you on the trading block or kill you or rape you in front of me, what that does to a motherfucker. So if we make fun of motherfuckers, y'all included, that I said hi to him and he said, no, girl, I'll never do it again, knowing full well that there's some 15-year-old boy right now who's getting embarrassed in high school, and it's going to frame how he fucking moves through relationships for the next few years. What that would look like to know generationally at every level of what y'all motherfuckers to this day say makes me a man. They chop me every year. Every fucking time you come around, it's not even like, I would almost sometimes like to frame it as like as arrogant as you could make it, like to sit in this position that I am in life and I'm nowhere where I need to be or want to be or where I feel like comfortable. It's a miracle to be there, which is fucking insanity. So like to frame it like that, I feel like it's hella irresponsible. Like I'm not saying there's not bad fathers or bad niggas that aren't getting married, but it's like to say that and not frame as like getting married is not something that you think about deeply. And also like niggas not just, there's a certain brand of nigga having babies, but it's also motherfuckers choosing to have those babies, which is another side of that fucking conversation. Like, it's irresponsible and it's fucking dangerous. And if there's a nigga out there made the same thing, then fuck him too. I am not here to fucking uplift fuck niggas as well. Right. That shit is crazy. And it's weird to see like how many people like liked it without, I don't know, man, some of the critical thinking skills, I guess, to think about this message full force. Well, this thing they said is made sense. It's something fucking Trump said that on paper made sense. And we all have the fucking have the brain power to go, the ramifications of this statement snowball into this, and this. So when you say this shit is cool, or you liked it, or you reposted it thinking you had some fucking grand thought, fuck is wrong with you?
Well, let me say, for instance, when it comes to the Trump situation, I don't care about him or his argument, so I'm allowing myself to use critical thinking and common sense. In this type of situation, she's saying something, confirmation bias, she's saying something that I want to identify with. So I'm immediately trying not to dive into too much critical thinking because I want her to be 100% correct because it makes me feel emotionally supported by whatever I'm going through.
A nigga, every day, some of y'all get up here like, be patient with her. She's going through a lot, but she's the queen and she's whatever. Because the fuck nigga who was a fuck nigga when you met him was mean to you for 3 months. Not even fucking, you just liked him a lot and he was fucking a girl he was fucking when you met. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like a nigga has to be patient and understand you. But epigenetically, generationally, niggas went through slavery and that is their fault. Like, a nigga, even if that was the case, like niggas fear slavery, niggas fear marriage because of slavery. Fucking valid, motherfucker. You want me, I don't have the right to be fearful that I would love somebody enough to give my life and I can't even do that. because of the system that I'm in. I will have to now sit here and watch you get abused and fucked up like this. Like, to frame,
puts you more at risk to give you the thing that you're requesting from me.
what are y'all like, bro? Like, some of these shits are just not good topics or conversations. And no, like, and also it always disregards the fact of, yeah, man, like, I'm not super hyped to like have a baby, but I don't have no choice in the baby. Like, once I deliver the genetic shit, I don't have no say so. Like, you did that. So now I'm here, and whether it's, you don't want it to be like the court made you pay, that's fucking whack. But now I'm here. This is my responsibility now. I'm here to be as present of a father as possible, because I might know the longing or whatever, or just want to be a good one because I'm a good fucking nigga. I don't even have all that extra backstory. I'm just a good guy, be a good dad. Cool, I'm here and present for the child. I don't know that you're a good partner. I know that this child, like, I can be good for this child, and I'm going to raise him or her, and we're going to do like whatever thing, like all the responsibilities on this part. The marriage thing makes us a dual fucking responsibility to one another. You haven't been a wife. Like, there's nothing wifely about you. We have fun and we fuck real good. Maybe that's your fucking fault. Maybe I am patient. Maybe I'm hanging out. Maybe I see the potential, because this idea that niggas aren't dating potential is not talked about. So yeah, I saw you. We was cool. I'm not afraid of marriage. I'm afraid of marrying you, because per the rant I love saying, yeah, we have conversations all the time. I don't have conversations. I listen to you. And like, I have a decent head on my shoulders, and I listen to the shit you say. You're informing me about your mindset with the shit that you find interesting, or the shit that you got mad with today. Why are we still talking about this when we had whatever? Like, sometimes you need to vent, but I'm watching and engaging in your mindset. I might see little flickers. And also, if I'm putting in some of the social changes, social shit, that's a good girl, whatever the fuck that means. So I'm running on a lot of weird old software. So no, I'm not ready to get married, because maybe in my heart, I know that you don't got it yet for like a wife. And it carries a lot of weight being a wife. Not even just that symbolic shit. I want to go and buy a couple properties. I need help doing this. I need help managing them. I need help with this, that, and the third. You can't fucking help me because you just spazzed out about, I don't know, the woman being in line at Target, and we talked about it for 40 fucking minutes. No, I don't want to marry you. I don't trust you, because that's not a big fucking deal. Should have said, excuse me. She didn't. Who cares? That's why.
I mean, part of that would have to make a person identify at least aspects of their ego that haven't been checked.
Women don't got no fucking egos. That's a myth.
Right.
Only ego is male ego.
Right. When we talk about ego, only men have ego, which is a problematic framing of the word. The connotation of the word is typically framed negatively in regards to men, but that contributes to part of the problem. A lot of women don't recognize that you think you qualify for this because you want it. They don't think that they are getting assessed just like we are getting assessed. Like, we know we're getting assessed from jump. The second we approach you, we know that we are visually getting assessed and torn apart or admired. One of the two.
You ever wonder how many group chats you exist in?
No, because I just default to say that I exist in anybody that I've ever tried to talk to. Group chat at some point.
He's the Dr. Manhattan.
Like, at some point, I say, I've said plenty of times, especially because of slavery, like, we're all related in some capacity. We're all connected in some capacity. And especially in LA, in Southern California, everybody somehow, some way is connected to everybody, whether we know it or not. So I wouldn't put it past anything or anybody if I have been brought up multiple times in multiple group chats all across the city. And I'm not even out there like that. That's the funny part. If I was really out there like I could be, I'm pretty sure I would exist in more group chats. I'd be, as I've shared many times, and as you know, I'd be here most of the time. I've been in a relationship with multiple people for the last 3 years. I may get to know people, but I was with them or had my ass here working right over there on them computers and tablets. Like, most of my time was spent in this domain. So I'm sure there's people that had me in their group chats. But I accept that mentality because they don't know the context. They may see that I expressed an interest, or I just may express attraction, or I may just show some form of support, and you think that it's me trying to holler at you because I sent you some emojis that was a response to a picture you posted, and you thought that, like, oh, he kind of on me. I'm not on you. I'm doing what social media is for, and I'm showing support. I've never asked you to go out. I've never asked you to kick it. I've never asked you for your. I've never done any of that. But in your mind, you may be telling the group chat that I'm trying to holler at you.
There's a fucking meme that I saw. I might have to find it tomorrow, and it was like, man, I ain't liking this motherfucking story of these pictures. I'm trying to spit in your ass. Like, that's all I know here. That's all the fuck I know.
And it may not even be literally. It could be figuratively, like I'm having a second of lusting looking at this picture. Because kind of like what you're sharing and what I'm agreeing to is like we assess you. Like, I've seen enough pictures or shit on your social media. I don't ever want to actually date you or talk to you.
Or the way you look nice, man. I like
you look nice.
Shit.
And I can keep this conversation boundaries and capacity management. I would never apply pressure to you seriously. I can flirt with you casually or funnily on social media because that's what it is. But I'm keeping it there because I can see you ain't got it. Or I've had conversations with you that let me know this would be way more of a headache than it's worth. I would never actually pursue you seriously. So I just assume I exist in multiple group chats because somebody's ego created a perception of me and they're sharing it to help bolster whatever their ego is to other people. And they don't know the actual context that I really could give a rat's ass about you, honestly.
White people cook when they said that. Rat's ass.
Oh yeah,
they did their big one.
Yeah, that's been around.
Give a rat's ass.
It's been around for quite a long time. It's transcended multiple generations.
Yeah, whatever that dude who be sitting in his car who was like, when white people gonna start spinning the block and shit, like he was right because rat's ass, man, like, and they meant that shit. Like you don't give a rat's ass, and then you gotta think about it, because a rat's ass ain't but that big. I don't give a what.
I don't give.
And it's dirty. I don't even get that. I don't get this dirty little furry ass about what you said. That's really crazy when you think about it out loud.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a diabolical.
Rat's ass, tits, that fucks. There's so many different terminologies that
I think that is such a but I think that's such a powerful compliment, especially like that guy fucks. You know what I'm saying?
It's not even talking about actual fucking. It's just talking about like that shit is that damn.
And look,
good.
It might not mean that he fucking a lot of people. Cause I would say if I saw, like, we all watch TV, we was all across the nation, even if you don't agree with a lot of the policies, you was enamored with just the swag. You look at Obama and go like, man, that guy fucks. And then you see Michelle and his energy, you be like, damn, that guy fucks. Like in his marriage. But it's dope. You'd be like, yeah, I for sure think that guy, like, he would, not only could he go out here singly and fuck, but he also like is killing it. Probably like, 2 kids fucking like him. You don't look at Trump and go, that guy fucks. You go, that guy pays for pussy, and then they kind of deal with him.
Yeah.
Obama looks like if he wasn't the president, get him a little Gucci. Like just being a cool nigga, like a cool nigga from like in Chicago doing lawyer shit. You know what I'm saying? Just regular lawyer shit. Like, and I'm not even talking about like, the shit we watch on fucking like TV, like he's innocent trying to like, fucking Obama in there helping niggas get out of tax fraud or whatever. Like, just regular and fucks. Trump ain't never fucked a day in his life. He had a little sex maybe. Trump ain't never done no fucking.
He thinks he has.
Yeah, that's scary.
But I'll say, to a degree, staying on topic, Trump does what a lot of women think that they do sometimes. Like, they think that they are way better than they actually are. And that's what keeps them from diving into the extra context or extra common sense aspects of certain thoughts and experiences and things of that nature.
I know like hearing Trump and Ivana like talk inside the house, if you could just be like a fly on the wall, it probably sound like some of that fucking like.
They don't talk in that house.
I think it's like when you watch some of those like Game of Thrones-esque movies.
He texts her and lets her know when he needs her to be seen in public, and she'll show up if she wants to.
I think there's that. But I think when in moments where they're in each other's space, I really think it's like some of that like Game of Thrones, like you pump his ass, but like the camera's got to pan through. Like I would just enjoy sitting there and watch how much they fucking just dislike each other. Like,
oh yeah, I'm sure she said, done, or expressed certain things where he kind of has, she's disrespectful to him, and he has that usual Trump. Well, like, and then continues on. But going back to what we shared earlier, as far as the feminism was concerned, she stays.
What's she gonna do?
She's going to stay because it benefits her. Even if she hates it. You can't tell me that at one point in time there was something about Trump that she liked and said, I really actually do want to marry and be with this guy and have his children.
Man, Trump said I got 300,000 for the night. We finna do whatever. And she said, cool. And that's it. That's
you continue to play your part right, and I continue to take care of everything, and you don't have to do anything. Hell, I'll make you first lady one day.
And look, man, my usual stance is what it is, man. Like I'm very happy in that space of like, I ain't gonna really critique nobody's shit. If you just, one, you don't got to bring it to me. I'm still making funny on the internet, but if we just go, it is what it is. I ain't really got nothing to say. If like that's not you, no, I wanted money and I want to be protected. Cool. I ain't never got to talk to y'all again. This is cool and cool transactional shit, and I'm glad. I hope y'all happy. I hope it works out for you greatly. Don't come to me talking about no love shit or no healthy relationship shit. You know good and fucking well that ain't what that was. I'm talking to you too, my boy. Like,
oh, absolutely.
I loved her. No, you didn't, bro. Didn't. You were you're weird, buddy.
You didn't love her.
You're weird.
She didn't love you.
That's some funky shit to get up out of here. What I
y'all just wouldn't acknowledge what it actually was.
Hit y'all over the head today. Got a lot of poly in politics.
Absolutely. But I do that in the new year, please, people, as he finds our outro music. Like, this is the last episode of the year. And what I need y'all to do is just be more upfront and honest. Leave your ego at the door in 2025. Like, we already about to have a very nice, interesting 4 years. It's about to be fun. So saddle up until 2029, 2030. But saying that to say, don't make it hard on yourself by not being honest. Don't make it hard on yourself by not using your motherfucking brain. Explore some shit. Challenge some shit. Use that. What's that thing you said earlier? Common sense. It's in short supply, but all of you got it. If you just, go in your garage in the psyche of your mind and dig around a little bit, you'll find that box that says common sense. Open that bitch up. Dust it off.
Common sense and critical thinking.
Put it to good use. Put it to good use. And it's like those old school toys that you used to get where you put water on it and it grows and expands. Like, if you take that little bit that you find stashed away in the psyche of your mind and you start to like water that bitch on a regular basis, it's gonna grow. So just dust that bitch off and start using it. And I promise you it's gonna help make things so much better. It's gonna make things so much better. But for 2025, keep common sense alive. That's what we need to do. Find that bitch and use it more often so that you can challenge some of the bullshit that you did in 2024 because you didn't want to use your fucking brain. You used your emotions and your ego. I don't want y'all to do that. Again, job security for us. But I would rather have the ability of having less clients if you motherfuckers realized your own potential.
I did not know this was over. Keep this. I didn't know this shit was over 2 minutes. This is it, man. This is some of the funky shit. I'm bringing funk back. I'm bringing, like, we've been cool, but I'm making a staunch funky because we gonna need it. Like you said, it's gonna be a rough 4 years.
Absolutely.
You're gonna need something to make you feel good. You're gonna come here to feel good.
We need to be bass heavy for the next 4 years. And I don't mean bass as like 808 bass. I mean slapping the bass.
That's another thing. Crit. Where I know he's living a perfectly fine life, but make a fucking album again.
Crit, Toby, and like Thundercat need to just come together and just create something. That would be nice. And if you sprinkle T-Pain in there somehow, some way, I'd probably bust one in my drawers. Just saying. It would just be sonically pleasing on all feats. Like, there's some of y'all that have been quiet, and based on the next 4 years that we about to have, we need y'all to come out of hibernation. Hell, Mad Skills came out of retirement and gave us a wrap-up this year.
That's true. True.
So y'all can please, cause we can't keep having like Young Thug. You know he back, and he probably gonna start making music again. We don't need you to do that.
I didn't even talk about that. But anyways, man,
we don't need to.
I don't know, man. Sorry to Mariah the Scientist. I don't know, man. Remy and Thug and fucking whoever. Oh shit, that's Devin Haney's wife. Fuck. Okay, I don't care anymore. It's just a lot of cheating going on.
Travis.
Cheating. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Raise your sons, raise your daughters. Have some fucking self-respect. Learn to say no. Don't operate from spaces of loneliness. If you're operating from that space, let's find ways to get up out of there. Love who treats you good, and don't post shit like that if you're not treating nobody else good, because you're a fuck.
Don't say that you posting shit that you don't really mean, because you really do mean it. Be honest. But yeah, let's make some changes for 2025, please.
All right, bye.
Find you a therapist that actually challenges your shit. I'll say that. We're gonna end on that note. Find you a therapist that challenges your shit instead of enabling it. If you don't know how to find one, contact us. I'll help you find somebody. It ain't gonna be me, but I'll help you find somebody that's suitable for you.
Nah, that's the one. I don't have nothing else. Actually, that's perfect. Do that, man. Bye, because motherfucker.
See y'all next year.